Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and it is absolutely freezing, but I still wanted to make a video for you. I'm actually just recording this straight after the Penrith defeat to the Cronulla Sharks 19-18, and I actually just wanted to talk about the Penrith Panthers in general. Now, obviously, fantastic team. We're on a huge win streak, probably the favourites to win the premiership, but I just wanted to talk about the last couple of weeks. As we've seen without the Origin stars, they've actually been very, very poor. I think a lot of it comes down to just inexperience. A lot of guys who are sort of playing, well, I suppose playing in position, I guess, but sort of playing out of position, don't normally play there, and all of a sudden thrust into the position and expected to play exactly like Nathan Cleary and Jerome Luai. The players I'm talking about, Tyrone May and Matt Burton. Now, to be honest with you, I think Tyrone May, don't rate him at all. I feel like he gets a lot of favours due to the fact that he's liked within the playing group, so I feel like that gets him a lot further than his actual ability. Could be talking out of my ass there, probably am. But just observing the play, I mean, I guess he's a decent utility, but I think that's about it. Matt Burton, on the other hand, I thought he showed some actual genuine class in that 5'8 position, but he's still very, very raw. The rest of the side, though, I think they've kind of been exposed, though. Guys like Kickout, guys like Dylan Edwards, even Crichton, those sort of guys. Momorowski, another one, and a lot of guys in the forward pack. Now, I just want to point out the fact that like Penrith are missing some serious amounts of players. And I know against the Sharks, I know Liam Martin backed up, and also Api Coruscant came back into the side. So they are big inclusions. So this is definitely a much better side than last week. And I think they definitely played like a much better side than last week too. Because against the Tigers, they're absolutely terrible. But I was kind of expecting that. Against the Sharks, I did tip the Sharks. I honestly did tip the Sharks. You go back and check out my round preview. But at the same time, I thought maybe Penrith will eventually get over them. And I thought when they're making a bit of a comeback, Matt Burton scores a couple of tries, sets up some. I thought, all right, here they go. They're going to heat up here. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Sean Johnson splits them open, kicks a field goal, and all of a sudden the Sharks win, and Penrith have all of a sudden lost 2 in a row after not losing all season. Now, I feel like a lot of people are going to look really into this, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, Penrith are done. Or like, oh no, is this the downfall of Penrith? Even if Penrith don't even go on to win the premiership, I feel like they probably will. But say if Storm or Manly or someone came through and ended up beating them and Penrith don't win it, I feel like they'll look back to this period and go, oh yeah, well they lost to the Tigers, they lost to the Sharks. Yep, that's where it all started. What a load of shit. That's not the case. Now, like I said, if they go on to lose, it's not going to be because of this Origin period. It might be from the Origin period, but it won't be because they lost these games. It'll probably be more so the fact that players get tired towards the end of the season, and your Nathan Cleary, Jerome Luai and stuff. The guys who are obviously super important because they're not playing very well, your Isaiah Yo's and that sort of stuff too. It just shows how important they are to this side. Just a few key players. And like I said, I thought Matt Burton was actually really, really good last night, and yet they still were so far off the pace compared to where Luai and Cleary are. Now, I think, say like if Jerome Luai goes down or Nathan Cleary goes down, just one of them, I think Matt Burton can step in and they can still do a fairly solid job. And I think Cleary is obviously more important. I think if Cleary went down for the rest of the season, Burton stepped in, I feel like that I'd have a lot of question marks over the fact whether they could actually win the premiership. I know there's all the talk of, oh, well, if Luai goes down or Cleary goes down, Burton can step straight in and they can still be a premiership threat. I don't know. I really don't know. After watching the last couple of games, I don't know if he's quite up to there. I think eventually he'll get to there, but right now, I don't think he's quite up to scratch in terms of an actual premiership winning half. But I suppose if you're after a makeshift backup half, all of a sudden midway through a season, I don't think you could really go past Matt Burton. But yeah, the point of this video is just to talk about the fact that, Penrith are in a bit of a slump, and obviously Ivan Cleary's not happy with how the team's playing, but they're missing so many key players, and I don't think it can be overstated. And just because in previous years, we've seen the Storm, we've seen all the top teams go through the Origin period and end up sort of coming at the other end and still playing well and going on to win the premiership. But I feel like at this point, Penrith are so far ahead of everybody in terms of points, and even just in terms of how the season is in general at the moment. This isn't like previous seasons where your top teams, if they wanted to win the minor premiership or get a top 4, they had to go through the Origin period and win these games. Penrith are just so far ahead of everyone. I feel like they could go through this whole Origin period and lose every single game and still come out in a top 4 position and still definitely be a threat of winning the premiership. I just feel like they've got that much class about them, and it all comes down to, it does come down to this Origin period in the sense that if they get out injury-free, because I think the one thing that we have exposed is, like I said, I feel like if there are injuries to these key players, even guys like Brian Toro are like super important to this side, that you don't really think about it because you go, oh yeah, he's a winger, but after watching Robert Jennings and even some of the other backs, Momorowski, Stephen Crichton hasn't been as good this year, and also Charlie Staines, they missed that go forward from Brian To'o, and even just the finishing ability. Just the threat that you can just chuck it out to To'o and he can just barge over a couple of players. I think it's always a threat to other sides, and it's what I was kind of talking about with the New South Wales side. a couple of days ago where I was saying just the threat alone of having Tommy Turbo and Latrell Mitchell out there, it just creates so much space in the inside for the rest of the players, and even Tedesco at the back. It just creates so much space because the Queensland defence, they can never get relaxed and they can never be sure of who the ball's going to go to. If you slide off one player, Nathan Cleary goes straight through the gap, and Jerome Luai did it as well, ironically, to Penrith players there. But it's kind of similar to the Penrith side. If Brian To'o was there, the threat of just literally passing him the ball, team's going to be like, shit, he can't get the ball because he's going to run over our winger. So they've got to slide out and they've got to try and man up on them. And then they end up getting left for dead by Jerome Luai or Stephen Crichton or someone. It's just a bit, little things like that you don't really think about. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit off topic there. But I think the point of this video that I wanted to make was just the fact that I feel like a lot of people are going to try and look at the results on paper and say, yeah, Penrith lost 2 in a row. And I feel like most smart fans out there, they'll be able to look at that one and say, yeah, they're playing without Origin stars and yeah, it doesn't really mean much. But I feel like there'll also be a lot of people in the media and a lot of people in general who will just look at the results and go, haha, look at Penrith, they're playing like shit at the moment, and not even take into account the fact that they're playing super under strength at the moment. So yeah, like I think Penrith are going to lose. They'll probably lose a couple more games. It was kind of I feel like when we're looking at them going the whole season undefeated, I feel like it was super unrealistic, and you just had to figure it was going to happen at some point. And we're waiting for this Origin period, and like I said, I tipped the Tigers last week, I tipped the Sharks this week. I think it was expected, but I still think a lot of people were just thinking like, oh, this is Penrith. They've got that aura about them. And I feel like that's a good thing they've got the aura about them, but just being realistic though, I feel like on paper they shouldn't win these games, and they didn't. And the fact that they were in the contest against the Sharks, and it took literally Sean Johnson brilliance to sort of win the game. So yeah, pretty much Penrith fans, don't look into this too much. I'm sure you're not, but just in case, literally don't look into these results at all. Like, they mean absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things. At the end of the season, you'll still be in the top 4, and as long as you get through the Origin period with no key injuries, I think you'd be absolutely fine. I think you'd be playing in a grand final. So yeah, just relax, Penrith fans, if you're starting to get frustrated because you've been on a pretty good winning run. Don't worry about it. Like I said, you're literally undefeated until last week. Then all of a sudden, 2 in a row. Now you're experiencing what every other team experiences in the NRL, except for maybe like the Storm and Roosters. You kind of go through those periods as well. But yeah, that's where I'm going to end this video. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Not really too much point in it. Just figured I'd make a fun little video talking about Panthers, because it's not often we actually get to talk about Panthers losing as of late. Which seems crazy. I think a couple of years ago, you talk about Penrith and you'd be like, yeah, they're a pretty decent side, but like, I don't really expect them to win a premiership. Despite the media, every year the media will be like, Penrith going to be top 4. Yeah, Penrith going to be top 4. Yeah, this is going to be the year they win the premiership. And then they come out and they would just sort of maybe get into the top 8, if they even got into the top 8. And then all of a sudden now, I'm doing a video on them losing 2 in a row, as if it's like a huge thing, which it is a huge thing, because Penrith don't really lose. So it just shows you how far Penrith have come. Anyways, like I said, if you did happen to enjoy this video, make sure you go ahead, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, turn on the notification bell. It's super important in terms of you actually seeing the video. Don't rely on the sub boxes, use the notification bell. Also, give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT for the most part. It's Mr. Luke just for Facebook, but for everything else, it's Mr. Luke and YT. So go ahead, give me a follow, give me a like, do all that sort of stuff. And like I said, stay tuned for more content on the channel. That's where I'm ending this one. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. See yous.